flowers everywhere. Let's party!
Look at me. I'm Edward Scissorhands, but without scissors for hands.
You are not. You are like Edward Scissorhands.
Vaughn Weber, a name synonymous with luxury.
Whoa! You cannot sell objects that have swastikas on them.
It's the Indian symbol for luck. The good kind of swastika.
It's not cholesterol. There is no good kind of swastika. My mother-in-law won't leave my house.
We're out of tonic, and I'd appreciate if you'd invest in a removable shower head.
Mother!
Why did we agree to do Thanksgiving in the suburbs with Brooke's family? I can't believe you're hosting another party on Black Friday. Oh, Jill, let's not discuss politics today, okay? No, I meant the shopping stampede.
Let's not.
Okay. What about this one?
I like this.
Are you insane? You don't have the rack to hold that up. Mom! This is such a fun age.
Tonight we party like it's 1995.
Yes! We were supposed to go to the Sunset Tower, not 9021 home.
You two okay?
We stay tomorrow.
Okay. Have a good day.
I love you!
Keep clapping.
Keep clapping.
Keep clapping. You want to see how long? You want to see how long we can force? Keep clapping.
Okay, enough.
It's getting embarrassing for you guys. I mean, you'll just do what I tell you. Abby, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations, season 3.
Season 3 tonight, 10 p.m. Bravo. Be
Did
there.
It. That's all we had to do. Thanks so much, Abby.
Thank you, guys.
Keep clapping.
Clap.
So, talk to me about going into season 3. What were you expecting them to do with your character? When we finished last season, you know, you had kind of gotten back together, but sort of the reason that you got back together ended up falling through.
Yeah, Lex and Brooke got back together last season, and they had vow renewal in the finale. And then we find out that Lex had invested a lot of their money into a Bernie Madoff-esque scam, Ponzi scheme, but Brooke also has her company. So Brooke has this flourishing company when we go into season 3, and she is really keeping their family afloat now. She's the breadwinner, which creates a really fun dynamic between Brooke and Lex, because, you know, he's now without money and his ego is tarnished.
They're not the type of people who like to go without money or have a tarnished ego at all.
No, not at all. And so Brooke expands her company into tabletop and linens this season, and some of her stuff may or may not be offensive.
As we
as
just
you
saw in the
yeah.
teaser. She's unaware that the swastika in Western culture can no longer
it's
double
Devanagari.
as
But yeah, so that's where we find them, and it's a really fun dynamic the whole season with Brooke and Lex, because Brooke kind of emasculates him the whole season, and which is not intentionally. It kind of came naturally for us improvising. Like he just seems so pathetic, and I think I improvised one line. I was like, "Come here, bud." Like he just like is kind of a sad puppy this season, and so
Are you guys improvising a lot on set? Is that
so much of the lines are so funny. Lara Spots, our brilliant showrunner, and Jill, they just do such a good job. They know these characters so well, and so we do improvise here and there. But because we're on such a tight budget and tight schedule,
you move very quickly.
We move really quickly. We shoot the season in 3 months, I would say, and 10. Yeah, and so. Yeah, they come up with such brilliant stuff that we pepper things in here and there if it feels
you throw out an idea
natural.
and they're open to it.
Yeah,
But it's not like
it's not like, hey, I want to improvise a whole scene, and can you just
your
shoot
motivation, guys?
Me for 10
Go
minutes.
ahead.
I'm just gonna spitball here.
Let's see if we can find something we like. If not, we'll just put that in the show too. Who knows?
Crew guys want to go home to their families, so.
When you signed on to the show, how much familiarity did you have with Jill or with the world that she was trying to, that she wanted to depict?
A little bit in the world. My dad grew up on the Upper East Side, but they were, my grandfather was an actor and comedian and a radio host, and so they were more artists. And but I did, live here for a part of my life, and so I'm aware that these people exist, but I'm not friends with them. And I didn't know Jill until the show, and we met and instantly clicked. And she told me, she was like, just do the show. There's a scene where you give birth and you don't have a pregnancy belly, and it's going to be really bloody and gory. And I was like, okay, I'm in. That sounds great. Which
That's all it took
I think
for
is
you?
my favorite scene that I've shot
Really?
On the show, yeah.
Oh, on the show.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying like in all of your career.
It might be in all my career, actually. Yeah, it was really fun doing like physical stuff because I had never, on SNL, I had done a lot of impressions and stuff where I'm kind of sitting, and I'm very comfortable in that space, but to move around and fall, and that's not something that I had ever really done.
And your character is, I think, in particular, quite physical on the show. I mean, Jill's sort of playing a version of herself a lot of the time, which is somewhat the straight man to everybody, straight woman to everybody.
Yeah.
But your character is one of the more sort of larger comic relief people, so you sort of you have to be more physical even when you're just throwing lines out.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I definitely feel like I walk a different way and do things with my face that I don't normally do in real life. And when I watch myself, I'm like, oh, whoa, that's a weird like thing that I did. Do I need like Botox all over my face? Like, why am I?
Is it just a natural thing that comes with the lines and getting in character and you don't really notice it?
Yeah. I think it's like playing this asshole, you know, it just...
Everything just sort of gets heightened.
Yeah. But I get a lot out, so it's nice. I get a lot of aggression out. And
you notice that you're much nicer at home and with other people because you've gotten all your assholishness out of you?
I think so. Sometimes when I go home from being on set all day to my husband, he's like, okay, relax. Like, you're being a little intense, Brooke Von Weber, right now.
Yeah, I go home from this and I don't know how to ask questions anymore or talk to people. I'm just sort of totally wiped out.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So, you know, you talked about SNL. You said you did a lot of impressions on SNL. I was going back and I was watching a lot of your stuff, and you did so many impressions. It seemed like they would just throw people at you to do all the time. What was that like?
Yeah, it was intense. I mean, when I first started kind of sketch comedy, I didn't know how to really do characters, but I knew how to do impressions, and that's kind of how I got into doing it and doing SNL. And
who was your first impression, if you don't mind me asking?
In my audition, I think I did Angelina Jolie. I did Katie Holmes, Anna Faris, Joan Cusack.
Oh, I love the Joan Cusack impression because I love Joan Cusack so much.
I love her so much. Oh my God.
I remember the first time I saw her in a movie and being like, who is this amazing person?
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, John Cusack's sister. And
I go Joan all the time.
Yeah. Joan over John?
Joan over John.
Yeah, me too.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy choice.
Yeah.
But those were for your audition. What do you mean? I mean, like the first impression that you did as an actress, just in general. Do you remember?
As a kid, I did Cameron Diaz because my dad was in There's Something About Mary, and I really looked up to her, and I was like, she's so cool. And my sister and I went to a press junket of theirs, and I remember going home and filming a fake press junket as Cameron Diaz. And Drew Barrymore, too, who I ended up doing. But yeah, so I really liked, I think I did impressions of people that I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And that's how, you know, I kind of started. But
what did I'm not asking you to do it right now because it's way too much on the spot, but what did your Cameron Diaz impression sort of consist of? Like what do you remember you going for or kind of attacking as an impressionist in that moment?
Yeah, it was just acting like an actress, I remember. Right. It wasn't so much like her voice, it was just sitting and being in a press junket and being like, the movie was really fun, and which is not an impression of not my Cameron Diaz impression. I don't know what.
It is an impression of an actress at a comedy press junket or like a big studio movie press junket.
Which I was like, that's what I want to do.
But it's so funny because you do an Anna Faris, and Anna Faris ended up later doing an impression of Cameron Diaz in Lost in Translation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Full circle.
So you have them all wrapped up around.
Yeah. That's so funny. She was so good. I love that. She's like, I do yoga, like with my dogs.
She's like, doing fight scenes with Keanu.
Yeah.
So you get to SNL, you have all these impressions, and then they start throwing stuff at you like Rachel Maddow, Maggie Gyllenhaal, just like, and how do you work that into a week? Like, how do you figure out how to do the impression?
It was really difficult. Like, you don't have time to prepare, which I like to have, and it'd be like, 10 minutes before a table read, and hey, can you do Greta Van Susteren at the table? And you're like, what? Oh, okay. I need 2 hours of tape to watch her, and then you kind of have to just like YouTube watch and just try and make it stick. And I remember with that one, I did her at the table, and And then it was terrible. And they were like, I think we're going to give this one to Kristen. She's probably going to. And I'm like, well, just give me a chance. I can get it by Saturday. And so it was really fast. The timing's really quick there.
It's really, is it about sort of like watching it and finding it like at least one tick and then just sort of zoning in on that tick and sort of doing it over and over again?
Yeah, you have to, I think, at that show at least. I think, if you were to play Greta Van Susteren in a biopic, you would, have more time to...
It'd be less of like one tick. You'd sort of want it to be some sort of rounded out three-dimensional.
Exactly.
Kind of a conservative, but now Trump's in power, so you don't know if you're a conservative anymore.
Right, right.
How did you go about finding Maddow? What was the tick that you honed in on for her? Because your Maddow was really great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I kind of do sound like her. I think we have a similar, I can make my voice sound like her. So I played into that. And then also the facial thing. She has that, I can't really do her in it, but like she has something where she talks on the side of her mouth.
Like Barrymore
that.
too?
Like Barrymore, a little like Barrymore. I think it's the opposite side. But I remember I did her another time and someone was like, you did it on the wrong side. It took me out of it. And I was like, okay, come on, like, give me a break. But yeah.
So, you mentioned your dad who was in Something About Mary, Chris Elliott, the sort of, for comedy nerds like myself, the legendary Chris Elliott. He was just beloved. What was it like growing up with him? You guys had like I don't want to say a strange family, but you and your sister mime it for laughs and for stories all the time. So what was that sort of like growing up with him?
He's always been just the best dad and so funny. And growing up as a kid, I remember just constantly laughing and goofing around. And, he filmed us doing plays all the time. And it was a very creative atmosphere. He went to Rudolph Steiner on the Upper East Side, which is like a super creative school. And, they have like basket weaving as a class there. It's a Waldorf school. And so we were kind of raised in that, with that, in that atmosphere. And my mom has been kind of the caretaker for all of us. Like, she is not an actress. She's a mom, and she's our stable rock. My sister's actually she wrote a movie and is directing it. We're shooting it in September about our family.
What's it called? Do you have a title?
It's called Clara's Ghost, and it's a horror comedy about our family, about these three actors. We'll all be playing versions of ourselves, and then my mom, who kind of goes crazy being around us because we're just doing bits all the time and
sort of
making fun of each other, and then so she's hallucinating seeing a ghost.
That's what I imagined when you said that your mother's always been kind of the caretaker, is always kind of having to like round you guys. All right, guys, that's enough of the bits. It's time to have dinner or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's super funny too, so she appreciates it, but it's also like she's not desperate for this approval and attention that we all seek.
Right.
But
this isn't the first time that you've mined your family for stories, right? Your dad had a pilot called like We Are The Elliotts, or what was it?
It was called You've Reached the Elliotts, and it was a pilot in 2007, I believe, and I was like 19, and it was based on our family for CBS, multicam sitcom. And I tested for the role of Amanda Elliott, who is the daughter of my dad. And so I went to the studio and I was like, I'm feeling really good, Dad. Like, our chemistry is down.
Did he say that like you were gonna get it, or was he like, we'll see?
Yeah, he was like, it is in the bag. It's
I mean, you're my daughter. How could you not?
Went to CBS, went to the network, and they were like, we just think she's too old. We don't see her as his daughter. I'm sorry. And that was like my first big Hollywood heartbreak experience.
Did it sort of harden you a little bit?
Definitely. It was, and I was just like, my dad was the one who called me and had to tell me, like,
your poor dad.
I know. He must have felt just so terrible. He was like, yeah, the network is seeing this like go another direction, and
hey, that's the business, honey.
Yeah, totally. And I was like, no, I understand. And I was like, I don't know why I was like talking to him like he was the producer calling me. I was like, no, I get it. It's just how it goes. And then I remember like just
Should I call my agent? Have you talked to them yet?
sobbing in my little car in LA, and yeah, that's something that I will never forget. And then I think they cast like a porn star as my daughter, and I was like, oh, okay, as his daughter.
As your dad. I love the idea of your dad playing the tough as nails agent or producer with you on the phone, like you're crying, and he's like, those tears aren't going to win your roles. Get back on the saddle, baby. It's time to audition. Like,
yeah, it's like when an agent calls and you know when they say, hey, not good news. Yeah.
So going into this, like, what is different? I mean, obviously you're playing your actual role in this, but what is it like sort of doing stuff with your dad like this, like doing a movie with your dad?
I'm really excited. I'm really excited to do something with Bridie too. We've never really done something together, but I'm just excited to play a grounded character that is a version of myself, as opposed to, as much as I love playing a bitch on TV, and I'm really excited for something that is a little more dramatic.
More of a drama?
There are a lot of like dramatic, real elements to it, but it's also funny.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you think it's harder, or is it easier to play sort of like a heightened, broad bitch? Sorry for lack of a better word, or sort of like a version of yourself, a serious version of yourself?
I think it depends. I think it depends on what the show is. I think Brooke Von Weber is a complex character. I've played characters in multicam sitcoms that are a little more vapid and easy to play, I would say. Not easy, but just it comes more naturally. Yeah, it comes easier to me. But yeah, I think that it's I would say it's harder to dig a little deeper. Which I think that Brooke Von Weber is. I think that she has this just extremely vulnerable side, and in this season you meet her family, so you get insight as to where she came from, which is really fun. Christine Taylor plays my sister. She's the best. Yeah, I was in awe of her. I met her when I was 12 at a mall in the Valley in LA, and I went up to her after the Brady Bunch movies, and I was just like, I'm obsessed with you, I love you, you're my idol. And she was really sweet. She was like, I think I remember that. I'm like, that's fine, you don't have to remember.
How come this is like the first time, going back to Claire's Ghost, how come do you think this is like the first time you guys are really working together like this?
I don't know. Honestly, we've been trying for years to find the right thing, and it's been hard to find the right thing because I don't know. We have such a strong dynamic with each other, and it's hard for one of us to play a straight man and the other to be silly. And Bridie, in her script, has really tapped into all of us and all of our personal quirks.
What was that like, getting that script and reading her sort of observations of your personal quirks?
So it's been a lot. We actually just did a table read with my family in Maine, and it's a little intense, and we were offended in some parts, and there were some,
Really?
Yeah, I mean, not
That's
to the
fun.
point of, it's totally fun, and like, we're actors and we have a thick skin, so we're not taking anything too heart, and we're open, we want people to see it. It's funny and it's real.
If the person writing it is talented, which Bridie is, it's fun to feel got.
Totally.
Like even if it's got in a negative way, it's like, oh, you got me.
Absolutely. And yeah, in a way it's really flattering, actually. Even if it's not the most positive thing. It's like, oh, you know me so well. You love me this much that you can dig this deep into who I am.
Even if it's negative, you're recognizing a certain amount of depth, and you're
Yeah.
bringing it out onto the page, which is nice to see that.
And
I have
she's
that.
very self-aware, so she has that in herself, in her own character,
That would
too.
be amazing if her character was just stellar angel throughout the whole thing. Let's get some questions here from the audience. Who has a question?
Hi, Abby.
Hey.
So you're here talking about the show, but I know that you voice act a certain character that's coming on Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Yeah,
which is,
Jana.
Yeah. What's the difference between acting in a sitcom opposed to voice acting?
Well, voice acting, I really love it, and I actually started out doing it, and I think I did a Quiznos commercial and then an Olive Garden radio spot, and I was like, this is easy, this is awesome. You go in your gym clothes and you just read, you can just read words, and then I got into King of the Hill, and I really loved doing that and playing different characters, and that actually sort of led more to doing sketch comedy for me, because playing around with my voice really helped me. But I really love doing Star versus the Forces of Evil. I go in a ton, and they give me the scripts, and they're so funny, and people really like that show, which I'm so grateful for. It's awesome. And yeah, my Star character is based on a voice that I think sounds a lot like my cousin Paul, and so it was half an impression of him with a little dark Janine Garofalo edge, I would say. But yeah, I can go in my pajamas and just read it, no makeup. I love it.
Next question.
Hey, Abby. I was just wondering, what was it like getting to work with somebody like Jill, somebody who hasn't done comedy before, but she comes off as funny on the show. What was it like getting to work with someone like that?
Really refreshing and amazing, because she's just she is what you see is what you get. She's hilarious. She is the person that she plays on the show, and she, there isn't this comedy background. Not to knock people that have a comedy background, but there's not a desperation to do bits all the time, which is great in moderation, I think. But it's refreshing to be around someone like that who doesn't have, isn't trying to one-up you in terms of jokes, if that makes sense.
Someone who's just excited about what's funny rather than sort of what's funny in reference to what they already know or what they're competing with in their head or even their own ego.
Yeah, there's no competition. She just wants to make a great show, and she is. And it's my favorite job that I've had so far, and I just love working with her. It's really great.
I think I have time for one more question.
Hi.
Hey.
So now that you're working on all these different projects, is there anything that you miss about doing a live show? About, Saturday Night Live?
No, it scared the shit out of me. I was so scared all the time.
Wait, is there anyone from this administration right now that you would like to be doing an impression of if you were on SNL?
Ooh. Yeah. God, I hate everyone. I don't know. Maybe Kellyanne Conway. Kate McKinnon does a great one.
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is kind of sit on your feet, right? But
I don't know. No, that's not. I didn't do that. No, just do that over and over again. Yeah.
Oh.
Slither like
Ivanka?
a lizard. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Jared Kushner.
You want to do Jared?
Yeah. That's my Jared Kushner. Thank you.
Hired. Abby, Odd Mom Out premieres tonight. Season 3 premieres tonight on Bravo at 10 p.m.
10 p.m.
Right?
Yeah.
And Claire's Ghost we can look forward to in 2 years.
Yeah,
from now.
probably.
You're
Yeah.
Shooting it in the fall.
On iTunes on demand 2 years from now.
Or if you're at a film festival, head out there, go see it. Abby Elliott, everybody. Abby, thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.